Donald Trump was warned about the potential crisis that the COVID-19 could wreak on the U.S. population as early as January. I believe it was the Health Secretary Alex Azar was warning Trump about the potential problems this could pose in the future, but Trump did not want to engage in any more vigorous or rigorous testing efforts because he thought that it would hurt his reelection chances if people, the general public or the US voting public saw the numbers going up. He thought it would hurt his reelection, so he made and it's the wrong political calculation for him to make anyways, but I'll talk about it in a second. So he made the political calculation. No, I'm not gonna do anything, not gonna put any more effort, because if more cases get identified as people having coronavirus in the US, it's gonna hurt my reelection chances. Lemon water. I highly recommend this, especially with all the coronavirus stuff that's going on. Got to get the vitamins in. But so I say that's the wrong political calculation for Trump to make, because if he had listened to the people, like the health secretary back in January, and actually had treated this with the seriousness that it deserved, we could have potentially stemmed a lot of these bigger outbreaks that are happening right now in places like Washington State, where I am. It's also getting pretty bad in New York, it looks like. It's just, spreading all over the country. And I've heard some numbers that it could potentially affect up to 100 million people in the US. That's almost a third of the population. And conservatively, the coronavirus has at least a 1% mortality rate, which is 10 times higher than the normal flu, and it could be up to potentially 2 or 3%. So even if it's at that conservative 1% mortality rate, and we have 100 million people affected, that's, a million people dead as a result, when, could have potentially been a lot less if Trump had actually treated this from a public health perspective, and not, oh well, I got to try to protect my chances of getting reelected. And again, it's the wrong political calculation for him to make, because the more this spreads and the more incompetent his administration and their response to it looks, it's going to hurt his election chances further. The economy is going to keep being negatively impacted by it, and that's one of the things that Trump would run on, is how well the economy's doing. And again, pre-coronavirus, it wasn't doing good for the working people, for the working class. It was doing well for the top 1%, the billionaire owner class, who own the majority of stocks and mutual funds and all those things, while everybody else's wages and earnings have been stagnant since basically the 70s, or perhaps the 80s. So he definitely made the wrong political calculation, and if this keeps spreading and getting worse, it's going to look even worse for his reelection chances, because again, I mean, he didn't want to get get people more tested. He didn't want to implement a more rigorous testing protocol because he thought it would hurt his reelection chances. And then we also have the fact that, excuse me, there was that cruise ship. I believe it was docked off the coast of California. I think maybe somewhere outside of Oakland's port or something like that. And Trump didn't want the people to come off that ship because the numbers of the coronavirus could have went up as a result. So this is a quote from him. "I like the numbers where they are." That's what he said. So it's like, just really honestly speaks to the just hugely narcissistic person that Donald Trump is. He is more concerned with himself, with getting reelected, than with a pandemic that has the potential to kill upwards of 1 million people plus in the US. So him getting reelected is more important than the health and well-being of a majority of the US population. That is the type of person that Donald Trump is. And it's just, really sick and disgusting that we have a president that is more concerned with getting reelected than the health and well-being of the U.S. populace. But again, if we want to get rid of Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders is the only choice. And his response, his policy platforms with regards to the coronavirus has, again, been the best out of all three candidates. I mean, just earlier this week, Joe Biden said he would veto Medicare for all. Trump obviously doesn't support that, doesn't support paid sick leave. Trump's out there bailing out, Wall Street when we should be bailing out Main Street, if you will. So Bernie is the only choice, not me, us. Trump's just hugely narcissistic and unprepared for this type of stuff. And again, he cut funding to the CDC and the infectious disease experts that would have been, super handy to have when a pandemic breaks out. But he's all about deregulation, no matter the cost, privatization, austerity, corporate welfare, and everybody else, the trickle down. It's like, the people at the top are peeing on us and they tell us it's a nice, mist of rain coming down. So, we just got to do everything that we can to make sure Bernie's the nominee, to actually bring some rational common sense. I mean, you think about having Bernie in office right now, I would trust him so much more than I trust Trump, so much more than I trust Joe Biden. Bernie would be doing what is best for the American people from a public health perspective, as well as finding, the various economic measures that would benefit the working class during these times of economic turmoil and downturn due to the coronavirus. And, he wouldn't, the first thing on his mind wouldn't be about re-election and be like, what can we do to help the people, help the most vulnerable, help the working class. So again, there's no choice. It's Bernie or it's 4 more years of Trump. Peace. Much love.